Hey everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, which interestingly enough was a Man Booker Prize finalist, and I've discovered that I have a tendency to pick up Man Booker Prize books without noticing that they're a Man Booker Prize book. I don't know what that means. So let me give you a quick synopsis for those of you who don't know what this is, and then we'll kind of dive in a little bit more. There will be no spoilers in this and no information given that wouldn't be given in either the back or the first 50 to 60 pages. So a young girl by the name of Nao, or Now, I don't know how you pronounce it. She is a time being, which I love. Hi, my name is Nao. I am a time being. Do you know what that means to be a time being? Well, give me a moment and I will tell you. And that is how the whole story begins. She is writing a journal, and in this journal she is writing down her own story as well as her great-grandmother's, and you go between her time when she's writing and another woman's time named Ruth, who's a writer here on my side of the pond, and she lives in Canada on a very abandoned, well, not abandoned, but a very low populated area on an island where she is very kind of cut off from the rest of the big society, but they have their own community. And she finds a Hello Kitty lunchbox on the beach, and it has a watch, a journal, and some letters in it. And she is very curious and begins to dive into what this could be and begins to read the journal. And so as you are reading Nao's journal, you are reading it with Ruth. And it's a really beautiful way to kind of read a journal because you're not just reading the journal. I like it better than when you're just reading a journal from a book, because it's so much more like you're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? You are breaking it apart with someone else, so it's almost like a conversation. And it was really beautifully done and wonderful and so phenomenal, and I gave it 5 stars. So I'm going to put this down now. A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki. I'm going to put it down because it's cold and it's snowing and I want coffee. So let's talk Nao first. Nao is a young girl. She's definitely not an adult yet, but she is old enough that she's probably in her higher teens. I think she says she's 16 or 18. And she has left school, which is a huge no-no in the Japanese society. She has been severely bullied in her younger years, and she has also spent some time in a nunnery with her great-great-grandmother. Now, she is writing in this journal to, one, tell her own story, but two, mostly to tell her great-great-grandmother's story, who she thinks is the most wonderful human in the world. And in the first 5 pages, you realize, one, this little girl is very unhappy and very depressed and very aware of the fact that people are disappointed at her. Two, she has a very rough life. Her father is severely depressed and she is aware of it. And 3, she herself is severely depressed and is considering and contemplating suicide. Now, when you are reading this, you understand that that's what's happening, and for me, my heart broke. This little girl, I couldn't imagine. For some reason, I felt very strongly connected to her, and I don't know if that's because of the writing style. I believe it was the writing style that you're supposed to connect to her. But Ruth does the same thing that you do, which is she becomes completely enamored and in love with this child. And I found that I wanted to read the book as much as Ruth wanted to read the journal, which was a really wonderful feeling, that you're as enamored and in love with this child as this other person who's reading the journal with you is. The two of you are just completely immersed in this world, and you want to know what's happening and you want to understand. And so the bullying that this little girl goes through at a younger age, she has moved from America, with her family. She has completely dropped classes, which means she went from highly rich to nothing. Her father lost his job over in California in the US, and they had to move back to Japan, where she is heavier than the other kids because she comes from America and we're not as skinny as the Japanese society. She is a very different type of person in terms of what she thinks is acceptable and moral, because she's learned very different ideas of what it's like to be a person. And she's also not as, she's very aware of Japanese culture, but it's not the same that it used to be. To her, it sound, from what I understood and what I pulled from the story, it felt like she treats Japanese culture like a lot of other anime and manga fans in America treat Japanese culture, which is, it is an amazing thing that they think is great. They think a lot of the little characters are really cute. They try and learn Japanese and they think it's really fun. It's an experience more than a lifestyle. And some manga and anime people I know take it extremely seriously, and they do take it as a lifestyle. I do not deny this, but quite a few of them do not take it as a lifestyle. They just enjoy it. So it was a 5-star read. It was beautiful. And the one thing that really broke my heart is that unfortunately the bullying was completely plausible and possible that it could happen to any child. And I think that that is a scary thought, that even the teacher joining in is a plausible thing. And the thing that was so beautiful was the polar opposites of good and evil of what a human is capable of in this book. You find these kids who are just cruel and evil, and, well, I don't want to say evil because they're children, but they're cruel and they're misunderstanding and they're unaccepting of others. And then on the other side you have the nun, who is her great-great-grandmother, who is just pure and love, and she doesn't want to pass until she feels all souls have been saved. And I think that's a very beautiful dynamic and a very beautiful comparison, and I thought that this book was worth every time you read it, everything. Like, it was worth everything. And I honestly felt like the best part of it was that I wanted to reach for this book. I wanted to read it. I wanted to know where Naya was, and so did Ruth. So it felt really beautiful to be in this situation where I'm reading with someone and we both care about this child and we both want to know what's happening. So I would say pick this up if you haven't. It is one of the most stunning pieces of literature I've read in a very long time, and I will definitely call this a favorite of mine, period. Like, it's going to go on the favorites shelf, and it's not going to leave as far as I can tell. And I am so excited and blessed that I got to read this, and I thank Mercedes for that, because she called it her favorite book of last year, and I was kind of on the fray on it, and it pushed me over the edge, and I'm so glad it did. So that is my review, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.